Welcome to the holiday gift guide for technology products 2020 edition. I hope everybody is doing well and is looking for some good cheer because we could use it after this year, I think. I'm going to tell you about a few upcoming programs, and then we'll sort of commence with the actual program that we have prepared for you. So upcoming in January, we have a program on Macintosh, getting the most from your Mac. That is January 27th at 7 o'clock. So we hope you can join us for that if you have a Mac. And in February, on the 17th, I'm doing a program called Upping Your Zoom Game. So how to get the best sound and image and lighting and all that sort of thing for your teleconferences, which I think are probably becoming more common and not less common. So that's Upping Your Zoom Game, February 17th at 7 o'clock. And Susan is doing a program at the end of February on the 24th, so Wednesday, February 24th, called Pump Up Your PowerPoint. So if you're looking for ways to improve your PowerPoint presentation skills or get more familiar with the software, Susan has prepared something for that. So again, that's the end of February on the 24th. So are there any questions before we get started? Otherwise, we will go ahead and go. Yep. All right. So, tech-related gift ideas. These can be sometimes difficult to figure out the right thing to get for someone since technology is constantly changing. So we thought we would provide some different items in different price points. So there should be something for most any budget, and we have more of the lower priced items than the higher priced items, but we're trying to cover every possibility. So I think we'll start with the under $100 items. And some of my suggestions are, first of all, Instamorph moldable plastic. So this is basically a container that has a bunch of little tiny plastic thermoplastic pellets, and you put them into hot water. As long as it's over 150 degrees Fahrenheit, it will work. And as it gets hot, it begins to soften, and you can mold it into various shapes. So I discovered this a few years ago when I was reading about various ways to repair household items, and I've used it numerous times. If you look at the photo to the right of the packaging, you'll see something that is probably hard to figure out what exactly it is, but that is like a mini blind control rod to open and shut the blinds, and it had broken off. So I basically put some Instamorph on it and a little zip tie and tied the rod to that whole contraption, and now it works just fine. So I'm sure once you get it, you'll think of many, many things that you can use it for. So that's relatively inexpensive at $18 a package or so. My next item that I'd like to suggest is an infrared digital thermometer. I'm pretty excited about it. Well, I'm not excited, but enthusiastic. So this is my version of this exact product that if you haven't used them, basically you point this at any surface, press the button, and it'll give you a digital reading of whatever the temperature is. So I don't know if you can see this. It's a little blurry, but you can see there's a like a little circle of like it's laser dots that are showing you what exactly the coverage is as you if you're like a foot away from what you're measuring. I think the circle is 1 inch wide. So I use this for food safety for the most part. So just to make sure that things that I'm heating get up to the proper temperature, whether they're, a steak or chicken or pork or whatever, this does a great job. It only sort of measures the surface, though. You have to cut into your protein if you want to get the interior temperature. So as far as accuracy goes, this is probably accurate to within 2 or 4 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's pretty good for general use. They're using them to screen people for COVID at some locations. A model like this, I would feel a little bit strange about recommending it because of that. 4 degrees can be the difference between a pretty significant fever and normal temperature. So I'd say the consumer models are not great for that, but otherwise, I think you'll find a lot of uses for this. People use them to measure the temperature of their HVAC vents, like for air conditioning, to see what the temperature of the air that's coming out is. So it's good for diagnosing problems like that too. The next thing I'll talk about is the Peak Design Tech Pouch. So as we're collecting these gadgets and gizmos, we need a whole assortment of cords, cables, and dongles and power supplies to keep our electronics going. So having some kind of a place to put all this stuff can be really helpful. So this particular product is from Peak Design, which is a company that's known for their very elegant yet functional designs. They make a lot of things for photography, but they also have some general purpose bags like this. So it's kind of origami inspired. If you look at the photograph in the lower right there, it kind of accordions out in a origami style, and you put your mouse or your power adapter or what have you in each of those little compartments. It has, I think, 21 compartments available. It gets excellent reviews from both the press and consumers who've purchased it. So I think that's well worth a look. Moving on to the next page. The first item that I have is a speaker. It's if you want better quality sound for your computer, but don't want some big system sitting on your desktop to take up all the room. Something like this, which is essentially like a little tiny sound bar for your computer. It really produces pretty good sound for its size, surprisingly good. And people use it with their notebook computers or their desktop computers. It just seems to be an all-around good performer and not a bad price at $50 for the sound that it gives. And my final choice under $100 is this Sanrok portable battery starter. This is not necessarily a fun kind of gift, but it's one of those things that could really save you if you need it. I remember going off to college, my parents sent me with a pair of jumper cables just in case something would happen where I couldn't start my car. And something like this, I think, could really replace the need for jumper cables and maybe superior in some ways, because you don't need to rely on someone else, maybe a stranger, to help you jump your car. You can just have this device. So the way it works is you essentially plug it in to charge it, kind of like a USB battery bank that you might buy. And then it comes with these little alligator sort of clips that are smaller than you would typically find on jumper cables, and then this end plugs into the battery power. And you just press a button, connect the little alligator clips to your battery, and when you press start on your car or turn the ignition, it will hopefully start. And this actually worked great for me last year. I was having a problem with my car not starting after being several hours in the cold temperatures. And I was using AAA, but it gets annoying to have to wait 45 minutes or an hour. So I bought this, and it really worked quite well. I mean, it wasn't like a wimpy, barely turning over kind of thing either. It really cranked nicely. So I'd say keeping something like this under your seat is really a good idea. And at $70, a little peace of mind is a nice thing to have. So Susan has some picks under $100 as well.
So my first item is some cable clips, and these are more of not necessarily tech, they're more tech accessory. So if your desk looks anything like mine, it's got a mishmash of cords to charge all of my different devices. Half the time they're on the floor, sometimes they're on the desk, sometimes they're knotted up in my desk drawer. So these cable clips, they're a great product. I'm using them as stocking stuffers. What you do is they have a self-adhesive strip on the back side of them that should not damage a surface, although I wouldn't put it on, on an antique or something like that, but on the top of your desk or on your nightstand or even on the wall next to your desk. You can kind of dock your cords in each of these different little clips to hold it in place and to keep them organized and convenient. And if you think about all of the cords that you might have, your phone charging cable, a smartwatch charger, maybe your wireless earbuds or headphones have a cord, a Fitbit or a tablet, calculator, even a digital camera. And so this, having a different clip and for each different type of charging device keeps them organized and handy and ready to go. So these particular clips are from the Container Store, but you can really get them anywhere. They're the same brand that I was at Micro Center today. They had them on display there. They come in all sorts of different colors. And at $10, you really can't go wrong there. The second item that I have is called the Rocketbook Smart Reusable Notebook. And this is, it's an interesting item. What it does is you take notes in the notebook with a special pen. It's the Pilot Frixion pen. And then your notes and your drawings can be transferred to the cloud or to wherever you want them to be electronically transferred by using your phone. So this is kind of complicated, but you would write your notes or write your agenda, or you would doodle whatever you want in the Rocketbook notebook. And then each page has a series of symbols, and each symbol on the page can be assigned to a different destination, whether it be Google Docs, whether it be your email, whether it be Dropbox or Evernote. There are a lot of different cloud-based destinations where you could send your things. And then you scan the page using your phone. There's a QR code on each page, and you just hold your phone up to it, and it will automatically take what you've written on the notebook and send it electronically to your destination. If you use 2 hashtags at the beginning and the end of each page title, then you can, that it will pick up on that and it will title the document whatever is written in between the 2 hashtags. So there are some tricks to how you can use it. In addition, it does use optical character recognition to take what your handwritten notes and then transcribe that into actual text. So you could write an email or write an agenda, and then it will take what you've handwritten and transfer it into, typed text. The neat thing about this is then once you're done with that page, you take a damp cloth and you can literally just wipe the writing off the page and then reuse it another time. So it's not only useful in that it gets your notes up to, storage, electronically that you can hold on to forever, but you're not going through notebook after notebook after notebook. You're just erasing the page and then reusing it. This makes a great gift for people who really prefer handwriting their notes as opposed to typing. So if you're a student and you are in class taking notes from your professor, and instead of typing them, you want to handwrite them, this would be a great way to then catalog them on Google Docs or somewhere like that, and they're searchable then. They could be transcribed to text to make them easier to read later on. If you prefer, writing your notes from a meeting rather than sitting in the meeting typing them up, again, this would be another great use for this. I know Mike has one and has been using it himself. I don't know if you want to chime in and add anything.
Well, I think you covered it pretty well. They come in various sizes, so you can get the standard 8.5 by 11 size. I think that's the one maybe that we have here shown on the screen, but I bought a little tiny one. So I have both the 8.5 by 11 and this little tiny jotted down sort of notebook. It's pretty cool. My handwriting is very poor, so I may not be the best candidate for this, but I like the technology. And at the bottom of every page on the larger notebooks, I think Susan may have mentioned there are little characters that you can define and put a little check mark by the one, like a symbol that you've pre-established will always go to a certain email address, or maybe it'll always go to your Google Docs account. So it's pretty slick in the way they've implemented it, and people are rather enthusiastic about this product online. I think over time, as you write on the page and then you wipe it down and then you write on it again, eventually that coating starts to wear off a little bit, but it has a fair number of pages in each notebook. I think the big ones you get, 35 or 40 pages. So as long as you try to not just write on the same page at the beginning, you'll probably have it last for quite a while. But I recommend it too.
Thanks, Mike. The last item on this page is that I'm going to talk about is another tech accessory rather than a tech item, and this is the Pelephone case. This is a case that comes, you can get it for any phone model out there just about. You would order it online from their website. I like this. I think it's a great gift for millennials or anyone else who is really concerned about the impact that they're having on the environment. These phone cases, not only are they fully compostable, but they also, the company will contribute 5% of every purchase to help clean up the oceans. So if you've got somebody who's very environmentally minded on your gift list, this might be a great gift. I've been using this for a year now, and I love the feel of the phone case. It's highly protective. I drop my phone all the time, and it has not suffered any damage. So it's not as bulky as an OtterBox or some of the other super protective phone cases. And they have this kind of a soft touch. They're not soft. I mean, they are hard, but they're a very comfortable, grippable case. And there are lots of colors and styles to choose from. You can even get one of those credit card pockets on the back if you are interested in that. And like I said, the best part about it is that they're compostable and they are donating to environmental causes. So if that is something that is important to somebody on your gift list, I would recommend at least looking into the website. And the one that I've shown here is, I think, kind of a winter-related holiday special item. Next on my list, this is for the game lover, or it's a fun gift that if you're looking for something that's electronic and techy, but also fun. This would be a good way to go. The Gocube is a Rubik's Cube that it connects to an app that you have on one of your devices. And the app will track every single move that you make on the Rubik's Cube in real time. So you can, as you're twisting it, you can see it twisting on the screen of your device. What it does is it tracks your moves. It will time you. It will figure out, how many moves it took you to solve the Rubik's Cube, how long it took you. You can compete against other people over the internet. And it will also help teach you how to solve the puzzle. So it's kind of a fun, updated way to play on the Rubik's Cube in today's techie time. So people who are into Rubik's Cube really enjoy this because of the fact that it's tracking your number of moves and the time. So it's a good gift for maybe some of the younger people on your list. And finally, in my less than 100 category, I have the Color Muse Color Scanner for $60. So what this is a little capsule. It's almost like the size of a film canister from back in the day when we used real film. And you hold it on the surface of an item and you push the button on the top and it will pull up onto your app, something similar to what I've shown here in the picture, where it shows what the scanned color is, and then it will give you the names of all of the different colors that are similar, very, very similar to it, if not an exact match. So if you've painted your bedroom a color and it gets nicked and you want to touch it up, but you don't remember what color it was, you can scan the color in the bedroom and it will pull up, most of the colors that are similar to it, including the brand. So Benjamin Moore, Sherwin-Williams, Behr, and you can figure out which paint is the right match, and then you are able to touch it up. It will match upholstery. So if you want to have a paint color that's similar to the color of your chair, you can hold it on the chair and it will pull up paint colors that would match your upholstery. It will also give you some inspiration and will show you what other colors fit in with the palette, or what are complementary colors. And so you can use it to help you decorate, and maybe you wouldn't have thought of putting another color with that particular color, but when it pulls it up and it's a complementary color, maybe that would give you some inspiration. You can also, within the app, build and save your own custom color palettes. So you can save the colors that you've pulled up, and that could be a way to help save the actual paint names once you've figured out what they are. And so for $60, it's not a bad gift. In addition, you are able to purchase a subscription to Pantone if you're interested in then having access to all of the Pantone colors as well. So that wraps up my less than $100 list. And I think we'll move on to Mike's less than $250. Mike, you're on mute.
Thank you, Susan. I always do that. We thought this would be the next natural breaking point for prices, is the under $250 category. My first selection is a Blu-ray player, but it's not your garden variety Blu-ray player. It's an Ultra HD Blu-ray player. And what that means basically is that it will give you the full resolution that your new 4K TV will accept. So I think it seems like 4K TVs are coming down in price more and more, and you'll see them becoming the most common kind of TV you might get versus just a 1080p full HD model. And a lot of people, when they're trying to find things to watch with their fancy new TV, look to services like Netflix and Amazon Prime and that sort of thing to watch streaming content. But the content that you get from those services is highly compressed, which means you're not getting the full quality of the image that you might get if it were less compressed. And that's where Blu-ray comes in. These Ultra HD Blu-rays have a really high resolution and look fantastic, and the sound is much better than you'll get over the streaming service as well. This particular model I have purchased. I kind of investigated this extensively about a year ago, and this seems to be the model that you want to buy if you want to spend less than, say, $400 or $500. This is the one. It's got really good image quality. The only negative that you might say about it is that it's not built like a tank. It's built like, it feels kind of like any other Blu-ray player or DVD player that you might have owned. So not particularly able to handle a lot of damage or that sort of thing. But if you treat your equipment well, it'll be just fine. I've had zero problems with it in that regard. So at the price, this is a really good choice, I think. The next item that I would recommend would be for someone in your life who spends a lot of time on the computer. Maybe they're a writer, or maybe they just take notes on the computer. Maybe they're doing spreadsheet stuff. But this kind of a keyboard is a mechanical keyboard. And most of the keyboards that we buy for our computers use technology it's like rubber domes or membranes. So it feels okay, and it doesn't make a lot of noise. And usually it's relatively inexpensive to make those kind of keyboards, but they don't provide the best possible, I guess, typing touch that you might get. So these mechanical keyboards, like the one that I've mentioned here from Das Keyboard, they have different kinds of switches that they use to actuate each key. So if you pop off the A on your keyboard, underneath there on a mechanical keyboard is a special switch. And the different varieties are usually there's a company called Cherry that makes this line of switches, and they have different different colors to indicate different properties. So the Cherry MX Brown are what I recommend for most general use. They provide a really good feel, and as you're depressing the key slightly down, maybe halfway, you'll feel a little bump or a little hitch in the key, and that's when the key is actually being actuated and sending the signal to the computer, versus a typical keyboard that we use that you have to press all the way down for that to happen. So when it's a little bit higher up there and there's a little tactile feedback, it lets you type faster and more accurately. And the reason I recommend the brown switches is that they are quieter than some of the other switches that are popular. If you don't have to worry about things like noise or disturbing your partner or waking up the baby or something, you could get a Cherry MX Blue set of switches on the keyboard, and that would give you even better feel. It just has a clicky sound that might drive someone other than you crazy. So the Browns don't have that problem. But Das Keyboard, the build quality of this is very good. It's got like a metal shell and very nice feel to the keys. I chose this over some other models that are less expensive because it has sort of this understated elegance to it with the kind of monochrome color scheme. But the typical mechanical keyboard is made maybe for a gamer, and the companies that make them feel the gamers want like bright backlit keys in neon colors and that sort of thing. So you could get something like that, certainly, for less money or even more money. These come in all different price points, and believe it or not, $170 is not the most by far you could spend on a mechanical keyboard. But you could get one for as little as 75 that I think is probably pretty good. It just might have a different cosmetic look to it. But again, just make sure you're looking at the kind of switches it has. And if you have a chance to try them out, that might be good. The last item that I have on my under $250 list is something that that I bought several months ago, and you can see the image here. This is actually an image in location in my home. So it's a clock that has this funky sort of dot matrix retro look to it, but that's not why I bought it. I like the fact that it connects to the internet and can notify me when I get a new email from Gmail, for example. It cycles through these sort of display modes. The one we're seeing here is the clock, along with an icon for the weather. But after this screen, you could set it up to go to show you more details about the weather. So, what's the temperature, the relative humidity, the wind speed, all that sort of thing. I have mine set up so that at the top of every hour, it chimes to let me know that a new hour has passed or a new hour is coming. And at the top of the hour, it also gives me a list of news headlines. So that can be kind of interesting. So if you have someone that likes to stay connected, they want to know when there's a new Facebook message for them, it'll make a noise and show when that happens. It's just it's pretty cool if you're connected to the internet and have a lot of accounts that you like to monitor. So that's the LaMetric Time Wi-Fi clock. I think it's overpriced at $190. To me, owning it feels more like maybe $120 product, but it really is the best option if you're looking for something that does this kind of thing. Believe me, I've looked at other choices, and this is the best one. So that's my last less than $250 item. Susan, you have some as well?
Sorry, I do. I had to unmute. I have two. So the first one I'm going to recommend is the Aerogarden Harvest Elite. The Aerogarden would make a great gift for both experienced and beginner gardeners. It is a hydroponic indoor growing system. And what that means is that it uses water and added nutrients instead of soil to grow plants. With the Aerogarden, what you do is you insert these pods of seeds and nutrients into little holes on the top of the machine. And they have herbs, flowers, vegetables, and then you add water to the fill line. You add the provided nutrients, which are just the minerals that soil would contain. And then you set the light for the type of plants that you're growing, and then the system will do the rest. And it will tell you when to add water or when to add nutrients, and it will automatically turn the light on and off for you. And so it's pretty much dummy proofed in terms of being able to grow plants indoors. There are several different types of companies that provide these hydroponic growing systems. I personally, after doing a lot of research, have landed on the Aerogarden for a couple of reasons. First of all, the light on the Aerogarden is brighter than that on some of its competitors. So it's 20 watts as opposed to 8 watts for some of the others on the market. Now, that's a good thing when you're trying to grow plants indoors in the winter in Illinois. It's a bad thing if you're going to have that located someplace where you're going to be sensitive to the light, because the light is very bright. So if you're growing it in the kitchen, great. I don't see how there would be a problem there. If for some reason you're growing it in your bedroom, then this may not be the right model for you. The other thing I like about the Aerogarden is that you can raise the light. It has a telescoping arm. You can kind of see behind the plants here. And so you can raise it up 12 inches. Some of the other competitors will only go up to 10 inches. And also Aerogarden makes much bigger models where you can have literally a whole farm. So if you really want to go crazy, you can have a two-tiered growing system, and the light is much higher and much bigger. But for most people who just want to grow some herbs during the winter, or maybe even some cherry tomatoes or peppers, this would be the best model for you. It holds 6 different pods. It's fully automatic, like I said, and it has a vacation mode. I don't know if you can see on the picture that I gave you, but there is a vacation mode that you can set so that it knows that you're out of town, and it will make sure that it keeps your plants alive, but maybe not as robustly as if you were there. The company recommends that you grow like items together. So either choose herbs and just grow herbs, or flowers and just grow flowers, or vegetables. Don't mix them because they have different nutritional and lighting needs. And so when you set it up, you're going to tell it whether you have herbs, vegetables, or flowers. And so you want to make sure that you're growing the same thing together. But it's a fun little project during the winter. We're at home, not doing a whole lot right now, so it might be a fun diversion for those who enjoy gardening. My second item is the Kindle Oasis, and I kind of cheated here. They range from $250 up to $280, depending on how much memory you have on it. So the 8 gigabyte Oasis is the $250, but you might want to bump it up to $280, depending on how avid of a reader you have in your household. The Oasis is Kindle's flagship model, and I chose this for a couple of reasons. It is the only e-reader in the Kindle family that reads like a book. It feels very much like you're reading print off a page, but it's also illuminated. The Paperwhite is a lower, less expensive Kindle version, but it does not have the illumination. So I do like having that light if you're going to be reading in bed at night and there's somebody with you who might be distracted by it. It's a very soft light, and it makes it very easy to read in bed. The other thing I like about the Kindle is you can load it up with books and then take it with you. So it's a great companion when traveling. You know, you could load it with 10, 20 books and have your library right there with you in one small device. In addition, if you have run out of reading material, all you have to do is connect to Wi-Fi and download a new book or two. You can download books from the library using your Kindle, so you don't even have to pay for them on Amazon. So I really do like these Kindles. The Oasis is super easy to use. The newest Oasis, which came out last year, has different light settings. So you can go from as warm of a light or as cool of a light as you prefer. So that's what kind of sets it apart from earlier editions of the Oasis. The other thing that it does allow you to do is to play audiobooks either to Bluetooth speakers or to headphones. And that's also new with this model, which is kind of nice if you want to be able to listen to audiobooks. If you do end up going with the Oasis, they're thin, they're not very heavy, you know, they're going to be about the same weight as a book, but they are nicer if you have a cover for them. It makes it easier to hold. And if you're going to get a cover, you want to get one that has the sleep-wake function, where when you close the cover, it automatically puts the Kindle to sleep. And when you open the cover, it will automatically wake it up. That will give you more battery life. In addition, as you can see in the picture that I provided, if you're going to have the Kindle kind of set up on a table so you can read it, it is nice to have it a case that will allow you to adjust the angle at which you're reading. And so you may want to look for a feature similar to this where you can have it, more upright or more laid back depending on what angle you want to read it at. And there are lots of different covers. If you go onto Amazon, I mean, there's countless covers and with different pictures on them or different colors or different materials that they're made out of. I'm just showing you one example here, but you can really customize your cover as well. Mike? You're on mute.
Our next category is less than $500. And my first choice in this area is a smartwatch, the Apple Watch Series 6. And I've chosen the aluminum model. There are materials that are more durable you can buy if you spend more money, but I think aluminum works just fine for the typical life of one of these devices, which is probably, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. The Series 6 came out relatively recently, and it's pretty much the state of the art in smartwatches now. And this is especially true if you're invested in the Apple ecosystem, you have an iPhone, etc. I've owned a couple of different generations of the Apple Watches, and the improvements that have happened seem to have been incremental, kind of perfecting various things. They've added some interesting health-related hardware, though. So the very most current model will measure, well, it's able to take your EKG reading. It also, the new one has a blood oxygen level sensor. So you can, I mean, it could be useful for COVID detection. If your blood oxygen level is low, you might want to see a doctor. So things like that are pretty interesting. But if you've never had a smartwatch before, they're really great for notifying you when you have an incoming call, so you don't have to pull the phone out of your pocket to see who's calling. You can just look at your watch and it'll tell you who that is, and you can actually answer it on your wrist using the little tiny speaker and that sort of thing. You can get message notifications, appointment alerts, driving directions, the ability to set timers. You can ask the personal assistant called Siri questions, and it'll talk to the mothership and give you your answer. So I just think they're a really nice addition. They provide so much more functionality than just timekeeping. I think you can even trigger the shutter on your iPhone's camera from your watch using one of the apps. So it's just really slick. If you're looking to spend a little less money than the $400 or $430 for the Apple Watch Series 6, they have a model that they recently released called the Apple Watch SE. And essentially, the Apple Watch SE is pretty close in terms of processing power and features to the Apple Watch Series 4, which is the one that I currently have. So you can save, a little more than $100 by buying the Apple Watch SE, and it will be perfectly fast and will do most of everything that you would want it to do. So I do recommend the Apple Watches. I've had Android watches, and they aren't quite as refined, I would say, of an interface as the Apple Watch is. My next selection for the under $500 category is a drone. So this is the DJI Mavic Mini 2 drone. DJI is a company that pretty much dominates the drone market here in the United States, despite being a foreign country. It made in a foreign country. I think it's a Chinese product, but if there's someone in your life who's a photographer or someone who likes to take video, a drone can really give you a different perspective. Just flying overhead can be really interesting. And these are relatively sophisticated devices. You can have it set to sort of hover in place and take a panoramic photograph by stitching together a bunch of different images that are overlapping slightly. It'll do that work for you. You don't have to try to line it up yourself. It's just really an excellent product. The reason that the DJI Mavic Mini and the Mini 2 are groundbreaking, though, is because of their weight. I think they weigh 249 grams, and there's a threshold for registration with the FAA of 250 grams. So they're just under that threshold where you don't have to register your drone. It's not a big deal to register, but I think it's becoming a little more difficult. You might even have to take a little exam or something to get a registration through the FAA. But if you have these slightly less models that weigh a little bit less, you get around that requirement. So it's just a little bit less of a hassle. It doesn't mean you're immune from all the other regulations, though. The restricted airspace around airports and stadiums and that sort of thing is still in effect. You have to obey all your local rules and regulations, but it's the registration that is not required. So I think something like this would be good for any adult that takes pleasure in I don't know, in just getting that different perspective, taking those photographs of your roof to see if it needs to be replaced. You know, there are all sorts of uses. It's not really a great gift for kids. The typical age that they require for an older or a heavier drone would be you'd have to be 16 years old or be in the presence of a licensed operator that's 16 years or older. So it's not great for kids, but for older teens and for adults, I think it's really an interesting option. So those are my $500 and under recommendations, and Susan has a few more.
Thanks, Mike. So the first item on my list is are inspired by the times that we're living in. The Sony Wh-1000 Xm4 headphones. These are noise canceling headphones, and they are great when you have everybody working from home and doing school from home, or if you're in a dorm situation or at the office. They truly cancel the sound. What Sony has done is they have not only they're not just blocking the sound, they are taking the ambient noise around you and actively sensing the frequency of it and then adjusting to that specific frequency to cancel the noise out completely. And so they cancel the noise. They have a great sound. So if you're using them just as headphones and not to cancel the noise, you're going to get a really top-notch sound quality from them. You can also set them to play white noise background in the background. The controls for the headphones, they're completely wireless, and the controls are on the side of the earpiece, and you just tap it to tell it what you want to do. But if you don't like to do that, you can also download the Sony app and put the controls on your phone and put your preferences and just use your phone or your tablet to control the preferences for the headphones. One thing I like about this particular model that's new, from the XM3 was the model prior to this, is that it has these motion sensors in it, and when you take the headphones and you remove them from your head, it automatically stops playing whatever you're listening to, or whatever, if you're watching a video, it will stop the sound on the video. If you're listening to music, it will stop the music. The other thing that it will do is if you start talking, it will pause what you're listening to as well. So if somebody walks in and they start a conversation with you, and you start talking, you answer them, it will stop your headphones so that you can hear what the conversation is. One of the complaints is that they can be a little sensitive, but we have them in my house, and we haven't had any issues with the sensitivity. It works really well. They're a great headphone. They also connect via Bluetooth with your phone, and so you can use them as a headset on a call. So what I really like about them, like I said, is the superb noise canceling technology, this speak to chat feature that I mentioned that pauses your music, and that will also help save your battery life. The sensor that notices when you've removed it from your ears, that will also help save your battery life. So it's a really great headset, and at $300, it's a pretty fair price for something like this that could really make a difference, especially with everybody home right now. The second item is the DGT Centaur Smart Chess Set, and that's for about $360. If you have been bit by the chess bug, thanks to Netflix series Queen's Gambit, that's really hot right now, or somebody that has been bit by the chess bug, this might be a really great option for you. DGT has a lot of different kind of electronic chess sets. And there are many other companies that make them. But what makes this one so great is its technology. It is able to adapt to every player's individual playing level, and it senses what your playing level is based on the very first move that you make and all of your moves thereafter. So it's continually adjusting its playing level based upon the moves that you are making and the moves that it's sensing that you're making. So what I like about this is that anyone can use it, beginners or advanced players, and you're going to end up having an equal playing partner. So sometimes you're going to be able to win, sometimes the board is going to win, but it's going to be a playing partner equal to your skill level. So you're not getting frustrated, or you're not you don't decide to give up because it just doesn't feel natural. It's going to feel a lot more natural than some of your other smart chess sets. The way it works, if you can see in the picture here, the board lights up. It has these LED light circles that will show you which piece it wants to move and show you the destination of where it wants to go. It can also provide hints and kind of help you along in the game as well if you're a beginner. It keeps track of each move, and so it will give you the move list as the game is going along, but you can also see it at the end of the game and go back and review it to help develop your skills. And then there are a variety of different settings. So you can play with the clock or without the clock, and then you can set it up for a friendly game, a challenging game, or an expert game. But regardless of how you set it up, it is going to follow your level of play and try to have an equally matched set for you. I've also chosen the Oculus Quest 2. So if you've been intrigued by virtual reality games but haven't taken the dip into them yet, you may want to consider the Oculus Quest 2. It's an untethered game, which means you're not hooked by a wire to a computer or another system. You're completely wireless, so you're free to move around more. What makes this, in addition to being untethered, what makes this really a great gaming system is it's got a very sharp display. The processor is very fast. The headset is a little lighter than earlier editions, and it has a more accurate motion sensing tracking than its predecessors. So it's going to feel a little more real when you're wearing it. And at about $400, it's a pretty good price point. In order, if you're tempted to try something in the virtual reality world, this might be the right thing for you to try. So what you get in the box, as you can see in my picture, you get the headset that you would wear over your eyes. And then you also get these 2 touch controls that you wear on your hands, along with the charging cables. And then the Oculus Quest has a really wide variety of games that you can play on it that would appeal to different types of people. There are a lot of kind of combat battle games, which I think are the most popular types of game on this system. But then there are also some more adventure type games. There's some sports. There's a really like a low-key fishing game that would be relaxing. There's some dance and music games. So and there are more coming on, all the time. So it would appeal to a really wide variety of people. And the benefit of this, obviously, is that with the virtual reality, it becomes a very immersive experience when you're playing video games, and it's not so passive sitting on the couch with, you're really in the game. And so it just creates a whole new experience from some of the other gaming systems out there.
So for the $500 and over category, my first selection is something from Xiaomi. It's the Xiaomi Mi portable projector. And this is kind of a tiny little powerhouse of a projector. It sits on your coffee table and projects an image onto your wall, or if you have a screen set up, it would work even better. But you certainly don't need a special screen for it. It has, unlike some of the more traditional projectors, which are just a dumb display, this actually has Android TV built in. So it has the ability to install applications from the Google Play Store. So, I think it comes with Netflix, and you can get Hulu, and you can get NBC, and you can get all these other sources added to it, and you could use it to stream movies for a movie night. So in these times, it's difficult to find something to be optimistic about, but you could look forward to maybe a movie night with your family where you pull out this little projector and send the image onto the wall. It will create an image that's they recommend between 60 inches and 120 inches on the diagonal, which is 120 inches is a pretty good sized display. Unlike like a full-time built-in projector, this doesn't get as bright, but if you control the lighting in the room, it should be just fine. This particular one is 1080p, and it will even accept higher, like 4K signals, but it sort of converts it to 1080p so it can be displayed. And the reports are that the image quality is pretty nice. In normal times, this would be really ideal for something like a slumber party. But we need to be a little careful of things like that nowadays. But I think it's pretty impressive that they're packing this much technology into something that's pretty small and costs $550. You could easily spend over $1,000 on a full-time projector. So this price point is pretty good. My next item that I'm recommending is kind of tech adjacent. It's a chair, and that may not seem particularly exciting, But as more of our time is spent in the home and maybe on the computer and possibly doing conference calls and that sort of thing, if you're working from home or doing projects from home, something like a supportive chair can make a big difference in your comfort and your like back health and that sort of thing. So the model that I recommend is the Steelcase Leap version 2, and it's pretty pricey at $1,000, but it's made for sort of a corporate environment, so it's built to take some abuse, and the materials they're using are very high quality. The version 2 of the chair has more sort of fabricated nylon supports, so it's a little bit lighter than the version 1, which is also a very good chair. It's just it's quite a bit heavier, and the back doesn't go up as tall on the version 1 of the chair. But I recommend this maybe even more so than what you usually hear about as the office chair that people discuss, which is the Aeron, the Herman Miller Aeron chair that has the mesh back and the mesh in the seating area. This may in some ways be a little better than the Aeron because it doesn't have a kind of a ridge in the front, a hard ridge that can dig into your thighs sometimes. It may get a little, the Leap may get a little bit warmer in the summer months because it doesn't have that mesh back or seat, but it's a little more adjustable in the arms. The arms come up, and the little cushions on the arms can rotate in or out, and they can push forward or back. It's some of the most adjustable arm cushions that you can find in an office chair. So this is one of the very best. I bought one of these over the summer, but I didn't buy it new. I bought it from an office liquidator here in Chicago. And it costs significantly less than the new price. But again, you're taking a bit of a risk because there's not a warranty and that sort of thing. So you'd want to try to test it out pretty thoroughly when you're evaluating a used chair. But since they're built so solidly and of such good materials, chairs like this could last easily 10 or 20 years. So spending a little extra on a supportive chair is not a bad way to go. So the next item on the next page that I have is a computer. Apple recently released a series of Macintosh computers that have their custom-made M1 processor. And this has proven to be a big hit, and it's kind of a revolution in terms of the amount of performance that you get for a relatively low amount of money. So I'm suggesting here a $1,200 computer that has 16 gigabytes of RAM and a 256 gigabyte solid state drive. So I think the screen is 13.3 inches and it's very thin and it's very light. And the MacBook Air, I think, hits a lot of the targets for what people need. It has plenty of power compared to like models a year earlier. This entry-level machine would be just as powerful as something in the mid-range to the high range a year ago. So that it's kind of a dramatic leap in terms of bang for your buck. There are reports that Apple's working on more of these kind of in-house chips that they're designing, and in the future, performance will be even better. So it's exciting times for Apple with their new computers. So the MacBook Air is the one I mentioned here. If you would prefer a desktop model, they also have a Mac Mini, which is basically a little tiny box that kind of looks like a big Apple TV, but it packs a lot of processing power. It's just as fast as this MacBook Air. And you can save a little money because you're not spending it on the little monitor and the portability. So those, I think, range for like $300 less than the MacBook Air for a given configuration. So the Mac Mini may be a good option as well. The next item that's on my list is kind of a high-tech bike. This past spring and summer, e-bikes have really started to take off as people are looking for, I guess, alternatives maybe to public transportation, since the COVID virus has us all a little bit nervous about being in close quarters with other people. So people are buying these e-bikes and they're just flying off the shelves. And in the summer, I mean, it was hard to even buy one because they had sold so many. This particular model that I'm suggesting it for a couple of reasons. This Aventon bike has pretty good components compared to some of the others you might get in this price range. And the other thing that's great about this one is you can buy it from a local dealer or a local-ish dealer. There's a company in Naperville called Mike's E-Bikes, no relation to me, that sells this and many other models. This particular company is quite well respected. I've seen the owner of the company post on message boards about e-bikes that I've been reading, and he seems to really know what he's talking about. So I'd say having a local dealer when you're buying an e-bike is more important perhaps than in a traditional bike, because they're a little more complicated and companies may not want to work on bikes that they don't sell. So if you buy a mail order e-bike, as many people are buying, you could get one for say $1,000, but you probably would have to assemble some of it yourself, if not, 2 or 3 hours worth of installation. You would potentially, if you don't know how to adjust it, those little final tweaks that you need to make to get it roadworthy and all adjusted correctly, that's something you're responsible for yourself. You probably won't be able to take it to a local dealer and say, I bought this online, will you please help me get up and running? They'll say, sorry, you should have bought from us. So I think it's worth it to get something local if you can. So this particular bike is a class 3 bike, which means it will go up to 28 miles per hour if you're pedal assisting. Excuse me for a moment. So there are also class 2 bikes that they sell, and those only go up to 20 miles per hour. So something like that, you could probably save a little money if you don't plan on being a speed demon. But I think the extra, the extra large motor that these class 3 28 mile per hour bikes have can be like a safety feature. If you need to accelerate pretty quickly, it could be helpful to have that, even if you don't plan on going up to 28 miles an hour, which is pretty fast for a bike. So the Aventon Pace 500 has a rear hub motor, and there are a couple of different technologies that one might use for an e-bike. There's a motor that sits right in the center of the bike where the crank is. So that's one way to go. Or you could have this rear hub motor, and the rear hubs are a little better in that they don't put a lot of stress on your chain like the crank motors will. They also give the ability to have a throttle in addition to the pedal feature. So I think most crank motor bikes don't have a throttle option. So that can be a nice thing. Once you get up and rolling on the Pace 500, you can click the throttle on and it'll just propel you forward without you even pedaling. So that only works up to 20 miles per hour. Then you have to give it some more of your force with your your own pedal force. So if you want to learn more about e-bikes, I did a program on this that you can find on our YouTube channel. Just search for Hinsdale Public Library, and you'll find my e-bike program that goes into great detail on all manner of e-bike topics. So take a look at that if you would like. But this is a pretty reasonably priced product for what you get. And Susan, do you have some in this price category too?
I do. So these are our last three of the night. I thank you for sticking with us as we've gotten a little long-winded. But so in the over 500 category, my first gift idea is the Segway 9-Bot Kick Scooter Max, which you can see at the top of the page here. And this is an electric scooter, and it's a great gift for college students that need to get around campus, or people maybe living in the city that are wanting to commute without the public transportation, as Mike mentioned with his e-bikes, or even just getting around Hinsdale. There are a lot of electric scooters on the market. I chose the Segway because of its performance, because of its price, and because of its build. This particular model has a range of 40 miles, which means it'll go about 40 miles on a charge, which is really pretty good, especially at the $850 price point. It can go up to speeds of 18 miles an hour, which will feel really zippy when you're on it going that fast. You probably won't take it quite that fast. It also has a very fast charging time. It takes about 6 hours to fully charge, which is convenient, as well as it does fold. The handlebar will fold down towards the back wheel. So that makes it convenient. If you're taking it on a commute to the office, you can fold it up and take it up to the office with you more easily. The other thing I like about this particular model is it's got a 10-inch wheel, and that's going to give you a more comfortable ride. It's going to absorb the bumps a little better and feel a little smoother when you're riding it. It also has a pretty wide deck to stand on, and the deck is rubber clad, so it's going to not be as slippery, or as it's going to grip your feet a little bit better, and it again will be easier to operate. The other feature that it has is it has a bell that's built into the handlebar, and you just have to simply do a quick twist on the left side, and that will ring the bell. And it's useful to have a bell, especially when you're riding around the city. You want to let people know that you're coming and not scare them. The other thing this model has is a headlight and a tail light. And when you use the brakes, the tail light will flash, so that gives you more visibility. It's safer with cars. One of the biggest negatives to this particular electric scooter is its weight. It does weigh 40 pounds, so you're not going to want to carry it around with you everywhere. But it is 40 pounds because it is well built. It's a pretty solid scooter, and so while it's a negative if you want to carry it around, it is a positive in terms of you actually using it and feeling comfortable on it. These types of scooters you have to get used to them, but it doesn't take too long to get used to them. They're a lot of fun, and it can be an environmentally friendly way to get around town, to do your short commutes, or to run errands. And so it might be more for your college age or young professional people in your world, but it would be a fun gift to get, I think, on Christmas morning. So then the last thing I wanted to cover is phones. Mobile phones always are a popular gift idea. So I thought I would just throw out there an Apple version and an Android version of phones that might be worth considering giving as gifts. The Apple iPhone 12 Pro is Apple's newest flagship model. And what's different about this one is that it is 5G ready. It's the first Apple phone that is. So if that's important, this would probably be the direction that you want to go in for any iPhone users. It also has significant updates to its camera and just on the outward appearance side, its design. It's hard to tell in these pictures, but the front and back screens are flat, and then it's got a flat metal band that goes all the way around it. So you could actually stand it up to take pictures or to take videos because the sides are all flat, which a lot of people like. There's also more surface on the face of the phone that is part of the screen. And so it's got a bigger screen. So you're going to have more image shown on your screen. It is also more waterproof than earlier versions. And the screen has what they call a ceramic shield, which is supposed to make it 4 times more durable when it's dropped than their past glass screens. It's only on the front. The back is still the same back glass that earlier models have. In the 12 Pro, the display is 6.1 inches, which is a bigger display. It's a brighter and crisper display as well. It runs on the newer Apple A14 Bionic chip, and that gives it more performance and speed than past Apple's, the Apple 11. And Apple's are always been an industry leader in terms of photography when there's not a lot of light. Their low light photography is really one of their selling points. And the 12 Pro takes it even further. They've integrated a new technology called LiDAR, which uses lasers to scan the environment, and it enables you to take portraits in low light that you know are very well. You can see the portraits extremely well. It's a huge step up in terms of its low light photography. In addition, the 12 Pro has 3 lenses. It has the standard lens, the ultra wide lens, and also a telephoto lens, giving it a digital zoom of about 10 times. And then, like I said, it has the 5G capacity. So you do have to be in the vicinity of a 5G network in order to take advantage of that. But I think that that's growing every day. So it's just a matter of time before 5G is everywhere. And then the Android phone that I'm going to talk about is the Samsung Galaxy S20 Ultra, which is a whopping $1,500. It's definitely on the very high end of a lot of phones out there, and it doesn't have any tricks up its sleeve. So it doesn't fold, it doesn't flip, it's just a phone. And so some reviewers question whether you get enough with the S20 Ultra to justify the price. But others say that its design and its performance do actually justify the price. So I'll leave that up to you. It has a 120 hertz AMOLED display. It's brighter than lower end S20s, and you can see the screen better in sunlight, which has been one of the complaints about the Galaxy phones. It also has a faster screen refresh rate, so it's going to respond faster. One thing about this phone that a lot of reviewers point to is that it has really great stereo speakers. So if you are watching a video or a movie on your phone, you're going to get a better sound experience than you would on other phones. In addition, it charges really quickly, and it has a pretty reasonable battery life given its power and speed. What really sets it apart, though, from other phones is its camera. It has, as you can see the back here, it has a quad lens. So it has a main camera, a wide lens, a telephoto lens, and then a depth vision. Its main claim to fame is that it can do a 100 times zoom, but even though it can do a 100 times zoom, the quality once you get that close up really is not great. So it's more of a bragging right than something you'll actually use. Most of the people that really are in the know say that you really don't want to go over a 30 times zoom, that the quality at a 30 times zoom is fantastic, but beyond that, you lose a lot of quality, that it doesn't make it really worth it. The other nice feature on this phone is that the front-facing camera, the selfie camera, is a 40 megapixel camera, which is about twice as good as the earlier versions of the Samsung Galaxy S20. So that's an improvement as well. So I suppose I would say this phone would make a great gift for the person that's interested in having the latest and greatest, or that relies on their phone to do really great photography or stream videos. But if your gift recipient is more interested in kind of flashy, more novelty type technology, you may want to consider getting their newer folding phones. I didn't want to go into those because those start at over $2,000, but you can look into it. There are a couple of new folding phones that have some drawbacks, but they're also kind of the new flashier technology that's out there. So between the two phones, if you're not tied to being either an Apple or an Android user, between the two phones, I think that the iPhone Pro 12 Pro really wins hands down. There's more bang for the buck in terms of the price. So, but if you're an Android user, check out the Galaxy S20 Ultra. It might just be the right thing. So that is the end of our program. I don't know if any of you have any questions or comments. Feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to add anything to tonight's discussion. Otherwise, we want to thank you all for coming. I hope that you've gotten some good ideas in terms of last minute gift giving.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate this.
Oh, you're welcome.
It was a lot of fun.
Yes,
All
thank you
right.
very much.
Happy shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah, get that economy going.
Good luck. Yeah. All right. We'll see you all again soon. Thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.